Hello, this is Mrs. Grosh, and the topic for today's lecture is the hydrosphere. So first, what is the hydrosphere? Well, the hydrosphere is the Earth system which is liquid, not solid or gas, and it's made of water. It's found in many places, oceans, lakes, rivers, but also glaciers and the water vapor in the air. Even though those are not liquid water, they are considered to be part of the hydrosphere. Most of the Earth's water is in the oceans, so the rest of this lecture is mostly about ocean water. There are 5 different oceans that we name on Earth, but really if you look at the map, those divisions are totally artificial. Actually, all of that ocean water just runs from one place to another. And so even though there are 5 oceans that you should know the names of, really some people consider the ocean to be one large interconnected system. I'm sure you realize that oceans are important, but you may not understand every reason why. Here are some reasons why oceans are so important. First, they cover almost 3/4 of Earth's surface, about 71% to be more exact, and they hold 97% of all of Earth's water supply. They hold somewhere between 50 and 80% of all the living things on Earth. Now, 50 to 80% is a pretty big range, and that's because we're still finding different creatures that live in the ocean that we haven't seen before, so we're still discovering them. So scientists estimate somewhere between 50 and 80% of all living things are in the oceans, but we're not exactly sure how many there are. What we do know is that oceans hold almost 99% of all the space available for living things to be in on Earth. Think about it. They cover almost 3/4 of the Earth's surface, and also they're very, very deep. So some animals live towards the top of the ocean, but others live way down at the ocean floor. So really, the ocean has so much of the real estate available for animals and plants to live in. Another reason why oceans are very important is that they move, and one way that they move is through currents. Those ocean currents, they transport things. They transport different nutrients from the animals and plants that live in the ocean, and they also transport heat, and that has a huge impact on the Earth. Ocean water also affects the temperatures on land. This is true because oceans do transport heat from near the equator to near the poles, and also because ocean water tends to heat up and cool off much more slowly than land does. So areas on land that are near oceans tend to be more livable because their temperatures are more consistent or moderate. And so that makes a difference for land creatures, even though the difference is caused by their closeness to the water. Okay, so what's in the ocean? Of course, there's water in the ocean, and there's plants, and there's animals, but there's some other chemicals in the ocean that you should know about. Some of them are salts, and some of them are gases. You probably know that ocean water is salt water, but why is it so salty? Well, the reason is a combination of minerals from the earth and the water cycle. The water cycle is when rain and other forms of precipitation come from water vapor in the atmosphere, and that water, as it lands on the Earth's surface and on the solid part, the rocks and minerals that make up the surface, some of those minerals can dissolve in the water. They might start in a river or a lake or in the groundwater, but over time, all of that water eventually ends up in the ocean. Once that water is in the ocean, the water part can evaporate, go back up into the atmosphere, and start the cycle over again. But minerals don't evaporate, so they accumulate in the ocean. That's why ocean water is salty, but water in lakes and rivers is not. The concentration of those minerals is much greater in the ocean. There's a word we use to describe how concentrated salt is in water. the word we use is salinity, and we measure it in parts per thousand. The salinity of oceans varies depending on where on Earth you are, but on average, the salinity of oceans is about 35 parts per thousand. Another way to think about that number is as a percent. 1 part per thousand is the same as a tenth of a part per hundred, or 0.1%. So seawater or ocean water on average is 35 parts per thousand, which is the same as 3.5% salt. Another thing that's in the ocean water are gases. Since the water on the surface of the ocean is touching the atmosphere, it can absorb oxygen and carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and those gases are dissolved in the ocean water. Both of those gases are necessary. Ocean animals breathe oxygen just like people do. They just breathe it in a different way, so they need to get that dissolved oxygen out of the ocean water. Ocean plants, on the other hand, need carbon dioxide, just like land plants do. So both of those gases are necessary and important. But if you have too much carbon dioxide in ocean water, it can actually turn the ocean water into an acid, and this can be harmful to ocean creatures. For that reason, and a few other reasons, there are areas in the ocean where very little can survive. The movement of ocean water has lots of different impacts on humans and other Earth systems as well. Some examples of ocean movements that are very important to know about are surface currents and also deep water currents like the Great Ocean Conveyor Belt. You'll learn a little bit about tides, the Gulf Stream, gyres. All of those things are important for you to know about. I'm not going to tell you what each of them are because I'd like you to find out independently what all of those different types of ocean movements are. So now you've completed your notes about the hydrosphere. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in class tomorrow.